No, I really think my partner is wasting money. Like, what does he do with his money? Hi guys, my name is andiswa.mojapelo and welcome back to my channel. If it is your first time here, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you stay and that you enjoy the content. We talk about all things related to money and adulting in general. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much for watching this video and I really do hope that you enjoy it. So today, guys, we are talking about money in relationships. Why and when does it matter? Okay. And we're going to dive into that topic. Now, firstly, the reason why I decided to focus on relationships specifically and not marriage or anything like that is because of a number of reasons. Firstly, it's because I strongly believe that the first time you chat about money shouldn't be when you are getting married or when you have decided to get married, right? That shouldn't be the first time you have this conversation. And I'll explain why in the rest of the video. And the second reason is because when it comes to things like this, that are not very theoretical and that require a lot of personal view, etc., I am mostly comfortable talking about something that I understand and that I can comment on, knowing that I'm using my personal experience in order to comment. So I'm still very new in the marriage part of things, and we will chat about that. But I thought let's start with the relationship part and unpack that, and then we can progress as we go on. Okay. So when we talk about money, right, and when we are talking about being fully disclosing money or having those money conversations, I want to get one thing right. Talking about money doesn't necessarily mean bank statements sharing, salaries, and all of that. It doesn't mean that deep at the start, at least. Of course, it should progress to that as you get more and more serious, but it doesn't have to start there. So I just want to get that out of the way because mostly when you say, hey, let's talk about money in a relationship, a lot of people are like, whoa, you're talking about, let me share my payslip, let me tell my partner how much I earn and all of those things. Yes, you should be honest, but we are talking about money in general, right? So let's start with why talking about money matters in a relationship. Now, there's a number of reasons. So it matters because a lot of our background and surrounding environments actually influence the way that we think about money, the things that we do with money, especially at the start. Now, why is this? Because there isn't a certain subject at school that teaches people about money or how to handle money, especially the behavioral part. You'll find that in most cases, the way that you treat money or the way that you behave around money is strongly influenced by your background and your environment, right? And you don't do this intentionally, but you look at kids and the way they behave around adults and the things that they do. We tend to mimic what is familiar to us and what is around us. So it's very important to talk about money from a background and environment perspective. So this means chatting to each other about, okay, cool. So growing up, how did you guys handle money? How did you handle things like allowances? What did you do when it comes to money? And what are some of the things that you explored or that you were interested in that are coming from a home basis? Why is this important? It's important because when you start tackling conversations around money with your partner, you want to make sure that you have a good understanding of their background and how they were raised, because those things ultimately influence, like I said, the way that we think about money. Let me make a typical example. When I was growing up and I had an allowance, especially at university level, right? I had an allowance every month on the 25th, which is the date that my mom got paid. If it so happened that I finished that allowance before time and I didn't have any money, my mom refused to top up during the middle of the month. Okay, that is how she raised us from a young age. You get money once a month, which is your allowance, and you have to make do with that for the rest of the month. And if you are short, you don't get a booster. What that did, and I noticed this when I started working as well, is that I was very fixated on planning around payday and making sure that I make my financial decisions that I'm going to do for the next month, the previous month, so that when I get paid, I take care of those things, right? Because my mind almost told me that I don't have a cash injection in the middle of the month. And that's the way I was raised. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the person you were raised or the person that I meet was raised in the same way, you know? Because, for example, in varsity, some of my friends would receive cash injections during the month if they were short. It was a thing that was acceptable. And I'm not saying that that is wrong, but I'm saying that perhaps the way they view money and the way I view money from a scarcity perspective might be different because of the experiences we had. So you'll discover more of these things with your partner as you chat. For example, we never went on holidays during the holidays. We always spent holidays in Eastern Cape at home. That's what I know holidays to be, and that's what I enjoyed. But I may meet someone who travels internationally once a year during the festive season, and that's what their family does, and that's what he's used to from a background and environment perspective. Those things matter because as you combine your life and build together, things that you do are going to overlap, and you need to understand where your partner is coming from, what their environment was like, and what is influencing the way that they behave, especially when it comes to what they spend on and what they prioritize. The second thing and the second reason why it's important, guys, is because of goals and things that we want to achieve. So, every single one of us had childhood dreams, right? We had things that we wanted from a childhood stage. For example, this could be you've always really wanted to have a big, beautiful white wedding. You imagined yourself in that white dress. You imagined yourself walking down the aisle. You've got pictures and magazine stickers and a vision board and everything. This is one of the things that you've always wanted to do, and it's important to you from a childhood perspective, right? And those are your dreams. What happens is that as soon as you start working and you're earning income, those dreams become goals that you want to achieve, right? So the dreams that you had, now that you actually have the resources to achieve them, become goals, right? In the same perspective, you might have always wanted to take care of your parents and your family and maybe extended family as well because of your roots and where you come from. Those were your dreams. And as soon as you start working, those things are going to influence the goals that you have, the personal goals and the things that you want to achieve as an individual, right? It's only natural to do so. Now, why it's important to speak about goals with your partner is that you never want to find that you are overlapping in terms of what you want to achieve, and you are spending money on things that are important to you that don't necessarily coincide with what is important to the other individual. For example, if my partner's childhood dream was always to travel, right? He's really wanted to travel all his life, and that's all he's wanted to do. Those are likely to be his goals when he starts working. Those are likely to be the things that he wants to work towards. Whereas myself, on the other hand, my childhood dreams and goals might be taking care of my family. And that's where my money goes. And that's where a large portion of my income goes because those are my goals. So you might find that maybe I can't afford to travel as much as he wants to. And now I'm putting him under pressure to not travel because I don't think it's a priority. Meanwhile, that's what is important to him from a goal perspective. And that's what he wants to do. So speaking about money from a goal perspective allows you to engage in the conversation and find out when it comes to money, what is the other individual prioritizing? What are you prioritizing? Where do you see a clash happening in terms of where you want your spouse to participate in your finances and when you want to do things together, right? From a goal perspective, it's very important that you are speaking about the things that are important to you. And sometimes, often, you find that you start thinking, oh, I really think my partner is wasting money. Like, what does he do with his money? Especially when the relationship starts getting serious and you are sharing goals and expenses, you might find like, where is this person's income going? That person's income is going to the things that he is prioritizing that you may not necessarily be prioritizing, but you wouldn't know that because you are not discussing goals. You are not discussing what you want to achieve and therefore where your money is going. The third thing, right, which is also one of my personal favorites in terms of talking about money in a relationship, is one of the best relationship advice that I've been given, that I've carried with me, that is so important, is that one of the biggest relationship killers is expectations. Okay. Expectations have a tendency of killing a relationship. And the same can be said with money, right? When you don't have enough honesty and transparency, which is the third thing, you will tend to have unmanageable expectations of your spouse and from your spouse because you don't have a good understanding of what's happening in their finances. Now, best explained by examples. If I do not know that a large chunk of your money goes towards supporting your family because that is a priority and that's something that you are responsible for, I could keep demanding that we go on holidays, that we spend money on, traveling, that we spend money on expensive gifts that we exchange with each other. I could have those unmanageable expectations because I don't know what's happening in your finances. And I honestly believe that although this is the last thing that I've mentioned, it's probably one of the most important. You need to manage expectations by being honest and transparent in a relationship so that you don't find one person overexerting themselves, trying to fill a specific void or trying to be at a specific level, because that's where the expectations are. If you're honest and transparent, then your partner will know what you can reasonably do with your income and your budget. And likewise, you will know what they can do and what they can reasonably afford with their budget, so that you are not clashing in terms of being disappointed because I want a holiday, but I can't get one. Or I don't understand why my gifts are always top of the range, but yours are not, okay? Because affordability is a thing. But if the expectations are managed up front, then you are able to be reasonable and you are also able to be understanding. So, those are some of the reasons and some of the areas that are actually affected by not being open about money, or why we should be open about money and be speaking about money in these different areas to ensure that we manage expectations, like I said, and we all stay on the same page. And, guys, when it comes to finances, right? Regardless of whether or not you are in a position to be transparent or honest, but always try and view the other individual's finances from your own perspective. What do I mean by that? If towards the end of the month you are always broke and you don't have enough money, try and make sure that you are not putting your partner under pressure towards at the end of the month to pay for a date that is going to be expensive, because you yourself are in a financial position where things become swayed by the end of the month. So you should exercise the same understanding and the same courtesy to the next individual to make sure that you are also not putting them under pressure, because you are thinking that, gosh, if I don't have money towards the end of the month, then that individual probably doesn't as well. And another thing worth mentioning as well is that try and make sure that you manage expectations when money is concerned in the relationship, especially at the start, or rather from the beginning, right? And this goes out to the guys. When you take someone out on a first date or the first 3 dates, make sure that you are taking them out to a place that you can reasonably manage and afford now and in future. Why do I say that? Okay, as women, we like to plan, we like to future think, and we like to project when it comes to how we plan our lives. So if you are in the first month taking me to Dubai, taking me to Paris, and taking me to all these places and spoiling me, my understanding is going to be that that is the lifestyle that we are going to have together, right? And I'm going to expect that lifestyle going forward. It's just a natural thing to do. So make sure that you set the bar, especially at the beginning, at a reasonable level, to make sure that you can manage this throughout the relationship and you don't find yourself strained as the relationship progresses, thinking, gosh, this person is already used to a certain level. Let me now try and keep up. You don't have to do that if you are honest and transparent from the get go. Okay, so now you know why it's important, right? So when is it important? Now, here you and your partner will really have to seriously have a conversation and know where you stand with each other, right? Because there's no set duration from when a relationship becomes serious. Sometimes this is at a year, sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's five. With other people, it's even less than a year. It's all up to people, because people are different and the way they react and connect with each other is also different. So I can't give you an exact number of years to say you must stop talking about money at 6 months or a year. This is something that you and your partner will have to feel out together. But what I will say is that another way to look at when you should start talking about money in a relationship is if you guys are already starting to have joint financial goals that you have. So that could be going on holiday, that could be buying a property together, starting a business, living together, which means you're going to be sharing living expenses, raising a child together. And all of those things are some indications that you are beginning to have joint financial goals, which means you are beginning to join your money. And if you're beginning to join your money, then you need to know a bit more information about the other person's finances and where they stand. So, guys, it's no reason that money can become a problem and it can cause friction in a relationship, but I believe that it is manageable, okay? As long as you are exploring the conversation, you are being honest and transparent as possible, and you are allowing yourself to understand where the other person is coming from, what is important to them, what have they prioritized, and also being open about what you've prioritized and what you are seeing as important and where your money is going and why. I think that it can definitely be manageable. So, guys, I know that the subject can be very tricky, okay? And I understand, but I really hope that these tips help you as you explore the money conversation in your relationship. If you found this video insightful, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so, please consider subscribing to my channel so I can see you in the next one. Bye.